Dallas, Fort Worth.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Real Estate right here on 1040 KGGR. Brother Robert Ashley with you here on a Friday. And we're glad to be with you today. The one and only Rob Stern of Lenders Residential Mortgage is also with us today right here on 1040 KGGR. Now we're live on Facebook. We're live also on YouTube, our KGGR YouTube channel. And of course, if you'd like to call and talk with Rob about the American dream of home ownership, our phone lines are open right here on 1040 KGGR. Now that number to call is 972-988-1040. That's 972-988-1040. And let's go ahead and bring the man on in, the one and only Rob Stern of Lenders Residential Mortgage. Rob, God bless you. Happy Friday. Now, thank you for joining us again here on 1040. Rob, how are you today, sir?
Doing really well today, Robert. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been a crazy week and there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, but I'm still here.
All right. Well, Rob, let's start off by giving out your contact information because we want people to call you. We want people to ask a lot of questions because, you know, for people who want to buy a home, this is a critical time that we're living in, Rob. I don't know if we've ever seen the market like this before, but Rob, how can people find out more regarding you, Lenders Residential Mortgage Solutions?
Sure. My telephone number, Robert, is 972-739-2350. That's 972-739-2350. You can also find me on the internet. Go to Lenders Texas, that is LendersTexas.com. Find me on Facebook as the Lenders Residential Mortgage Team. But the main thing is just find me.
All right. Now, once again, for our 1040 KGGR listeners, we do programs like this because we want to educate our 1040 KGGR listeners about the biggest purchase that they will make in a lifetime, and that is a home. And getting this type of education is something that you just can't get unless you go to real estate school or if you're already in the market. But we're honored to have Rob Stern of Lenders Residential Mortgage and Mortgage Solutions with us each and every Friday right here on 1040. And once again, the phone lines are open at 972-988-1040. Well, Rob, as we look at the market right now and what's going on in the home buying market, for anybody who wants to buy a home or sell a home, let's maybe talk about those who want to buy a home right now. How tough is it, Rob, to buy a home?
Robert, you know, this is a pretty crazy real estate market. And I wouldn't say that buying a home is impossible right now by any stretch. But very clearly, there are some additional challenges now that didn't exist 2 years ago or 3 years ago, perhaps. Home prices in the Dallas-Fort Worth area have escalated significantly. And what we're seeing happening is somewhat of a phenomenon and nothing that we've ever experienced in North Texas. Home prices are moving very rapidly right now. And because of what's happening, quite literally, homes are selling for over the asking price. When I say over the asking price, if someone is asking $200,000 for a home, that house may very well sell for $225,000. You know, there's several reasons that this is going on. One is clearly the influx into the Tarrant County and Dallas County areas that we're seeing from outside of the state. People coming from California, people coming from Florida, people coming from Illinois and Ohio, and I mean, just everywhere. Everybody wants to live in Texas. All of a sudden, people seem to have found out about our little secret, which is the state of Texas. And I can't blame people for wanting to live here, but the reality is that's driving up our home prices exponentially. A lot of these people are selling their homes in a much more expensive market, and they're coming here with cash to put into these houses. Therefore, they are willing to spend some of that cash in outbidding other people, and that's helping to drive our prices significantly higher. In addition to that, home builders have actually stopped building homes as they had previously. There are no homes available, no spec homes available. Rather, what builders are doing now is literally almost holding a lottery for these home lots that they're building. And that's driving prices up exponentially as well because people can't get a brand new home. You know, I've always had an issue with home builders in our conversations over the years and the way that they have manipulated this business. But right now, I think home builders have literally almost single-handedly created this big vacuum that we're in, where these prices are going higher and higher. They're blaming it on access to supplies, a delay in deliverables, and not, the price of lumber is going up, the price of cement is going up, and so on and so forth. But again, that is also part of the overall business cycle too. When you add all of it together, it leads to higher prices, and it's part of the explanation as to exactly what's happening right now to the consumers in the Fort Worth and Dallas areas.
Wow. Margo, once again, for those of you listening to us here on 1040 KGGR, phone lines are open. We're talking about the American dream of home ownership. And many of you know, when you went to school, you wanted to be a homeowner. And that's part of the American dream. But now the prices have gone up. The economy is changing. I mean, we got a new president, things are changing, but it seems like everything is just going up now, Rob. And, Rob, for a lot of our young millennials who are trying to get started, should they try to move forward, or should they just wait till the market cool off? Or what do you say to these young millennials?
Well, Robert, I mean, this is what you would call inflation, right? I mean, and I think that yes, for young people, now is the right time to be jumping into the market. First off, because I think you'll see some significant equity growth over the next 2 or 3 years in any home you purchase today. But more importantly, you got to understand your rental prices are going to go up along with everything else. So it's not like renting an apartment will ever be less expensive than buying a home. The reality is, being a homeowner is always a wise choice. Choosing to create your own personal wealth, create your own equity, choosing to control your own financial future always makes more sense than leaving it up to the subjective choices of an individual who may own that home you're living in and renting, or own that apartment building, or what have you. Mm-hmm. Apartment rents are going up too, Robert. Right now I'm hearing people tell me that their rents are between $1,800 and $2,000 a month, almost routinely. So it's an expensive time in our lives. And of course, I'm personally probably a bit further along in my life than these millennials and several of the people that are listening to us. But the fact is, I've never seen anything like this. This is a great time to be buying a home, because there will be some pretty significant equity growth over the next several years. I feel very confident in saying that.
Yes. Well, Rob, let's give out your contact information, because we've got some millennials that we know. We want to congratulate them. They're thinking about getting married. As a matter of fact, they're going to get married, and they know exactly who they are. And we want to encourage our young people to get started early. But Rob, how can people reach out to you?
Thank you, Robert. My telephone number is 972-739-2350. That is 972-739-2350. And you can also reach me by internet. Go to lenderstexas.com. That's spelled out LENDERSTEXAS.com, or find me on Facebook as the Lenders Residential Mortgage Team.
Yes. Now, Rob, I saw a story this week on Channel 8 about this young couple who was building their home in Waxahachie. And, it gave me nightmares, because I think back when I, started building my own home years ago, and went to the design center and picked out all this and all that, countertops and all that kind of stuff. But this young couple, Rob, they've discovered that they put a contract on the house for about, $300,000?
It was
$300,000. But because things have gone up, the price of lumber, the supply chain has been disrupted. They're having to pay an additional almost $100,000 on a house that they had under contract. So do you encourage people to do business with builders putting houses under contract?
Wow.
Buy a pre-existing home? Because if you got a house under contract and you're expecting to pay a certain amount, then the builder comes back and tell you, oh, you need $99,000 more, or almost $100,000 more.
Yeah, Robert, that home builder was actually Lillian Homes in Waxahachie was the home builder. Do I recommend people go to a home builder to buy a home? That's really kind of a hard question. I think right now, what we want our listeners to understand is that when you go to a home builder, typically there is a sales rep there with that in that home builder's office. That sales rep is there literally to represent the home builder's best interests, not to represent the buyer's best interests. When you compound that with what's going on in the industry, and quite clearly, as Lillian Homes made apparent, you don't have to sell a home to anybody you don't want to sell a home to, and you don't have to buy a home if you don't want to buy a home. The reality is they did contract for that house, and perhaps there has been an increase in costs, which is part of business and something that we've experienced throughout our lifetime. Yes. Things do tend to cost more money, but when you make a bargain, when you make a deal, in my mind, that deal is what you should live with. Of course, what home builders are doing right now, and we discussed this last week in some detail, Robert. What home builders are doing now is, in many cases, they're going up on these numbers. They're telling the consumer what's going on. When the consumer says, "I can't handle $99,000 more in expense. I can't qualify for it, or I'm not willing to spend it," the builder will give them their earnest money back and sell it to someone else. And they'll sell it for more money to someone who can afford it, because there's such a shortage of homes right now. So, not knowing what the builder's contract actually says, I couldn't give you a definitive answer on that. But again, I would always recommend that someone shop aggressively with a realtor and use or go looking for a pre-owned home as opposed to a brand new home. And there's a lot of reasons behind my statement there. There's nothing wrong with brand new homes. It's just the environment I think that we're in right now. Yes. And you've got to understand that builders have become, in many cases, such large, cumbersome entities that they're not even the ones making the decisions here locally. It's being made by someone, perhaps someplace else in St. Louis, or who knows, that is pulling the strings and telling the salespeople exactly what to say and how to handle these things. I think it's very unfortunate. I think it's unfair. This young couple, clearly was taken advantage of. And one of their statements in that broadcast, which I actually saw on YouTube. Yes, sir. One of their statements was, "We don't even think the value is going to be there in this house after we buy it. So yes, why would we want to buy the house?" And that's a pretty good statement when you have when you have a builder that's trying to jack you up by 25%. Yeah, I've got a hard time with that. And it's not just Lillian Homes. Understand, this has been going throughout the industry. Other home builders out there, D.R. Horton, Meritage. I mean, I'm seeing this kind of activity all over the place where people are struggling to become homeowners. So yeah, pre-owned homes are always, in my opinion, a much better value and a much better opportunity, a much cleaner deal.
Yes. So Rob, anyone who's listening to us right now who may have a home under contract, and as we both looked at that story, I thought to myself, well, are contracts binding? When you sign a contract to build a home for a certain amount, is that contract binding, or can you slip out of it?
Well, it should be binding, Robert. But I haven't seen the contract that they've signed, and I can almost promise you that it was a contract written by their lawyers, and it was not reviewed by the buyer's lawyer.
Oh boy.
So who knows? I think that the typical homeowner contract, or the typical new contract for new homes, obviously gives the builder a little bit of wiggle room. I know that the contract that we use, the TREC contract that we use for pre-owned homes, doesn't allow for any such activity. There's no gamesmanship or wiggle room, so to speak. When you contract for a home, it's your home to buy as long as you can qualify and as long as the house meets the appraised value.
Wow. Well, once again, we are talking here with Rob Stern of Lenders Residential Mortgage. We're live here on 1040 KGGR. Robert Ashley is my name here on a Friday. Our phone lines are open at 972-988-1040. That's 972-988-1040. If you have a question or a comment for Rob, you've been thinking about buying yourself a home, you're getting ready to get married, you want to make sure you have that home for your bride there. And Rob, let's give out your contact information.
Thank you, Robert. My telephone number, once again, is 972-739-2350. That's 972-739-2350. And you can also find me on the internet. Just go to Lenders Texas, that is LendersTexas.com.
Now, Rob, on the issue of, I guess, migration, I mean, because you talked about people moving here from New York, California. Will somebody from New York or California come down here and pay that extra $100,000 for that home at Waxahachie and get that home?
Perhaps. I mean, it's entirely possible, because here's what happens what happens in a market where you have home prices escalating. An appraisal is driven by comparable sales in the most previous 6 months, typically. So as we have all these people coming in and paying extra money over and above the sales price for these homes, the overall appraised value of the neighborhoods is increasing. As the overall value increases, it's a consistently self-feeding frenzy there. So they may not have to spend $100,000 more for that home. It may be worth $100,000 more by the time those people from California contract for it. I mean, who really knows? But the point is, these builders are literally throwing dice. I mean, they're gambling that they can sell these homes for more than they originally contracted them for. I'm seeing people buy homes now that have taken 10 months, 12 months to close. I think we talked about this last week. I've got an individual who was supposed to close in December, and they're closing the end of this month. That's 5 months late. 5 months, Robert.
Good grief.
5 months. That's 150 days late on a closing. And you know what? The builder is, okay, I want to close now. It's ready. So again, I think we're just seeing this all over the place, and it will work itself out. It's going to take some time, and that's one reason why we're seeing a lot of existing homeowners choose to refinance their homes instead of relocating and buying a new home. Our refinance activity is very, very strong right now. A lot of people taking equity out of their homes, using that equity to put new cabinets in the kitchen, or perhaps new flooring in the family room, or upgrade the house, paint it, do whatever has to be done. And in a lot of ways that makes sense, Robert. When you refinance your house and take equity out of it, first off, you're getting the taxable benefit of doing something that is literally tax deductible, rather than paying whatever you choose to do with out of pocket after tax money. But more importantly, what you're doing is you're spreading that debt out over a 30-year period, or perhaps a 15-year period, rather than trying to finance it straight out of the gate. So a lot of people using that equity to pay off credit card debt. Like I said, remodel their homes, renovate their homes. It's a very active time in the mortgage industry right now, but it's going to require that to anybody who is a homeowner currently, let us go ahead and look at credit. Let's go ahead and pull a loan together before you choose to sell your home and do anything, before you choose to make a move in any form or fashion. The place to start is to call us, and let's look at credit and see what we got to do to move forward.
Beautiful. And Rob, that was straight into my next line of questioning, because I ran into a couple that's considering moving out to Midlothian, but they also have a home that they're in now. They've been into that home about 21 years, and they've seen a home in Midlothian that's got all kinds of technology and everything like that. And then the wife said, well, should we move, or should we just refinance and build up the house that we have? But you've kind of just spoken to that. Should we move, or should we just go ahead and refinance and build this house, bring in the modern technology and repaint, do the carpet and everything?
Well, Robert, my father would say, dance with the one that brung you, right? I mean, deal with the issue, as opposed to the one you don't know.
Yes.
A lot of people are choosing to refinance specifically for that purpose. They're already in the house. You don't have to go through the expense of moving. And moving can be a very expensive process if you've been in your home for a period of time. You know exactly what's going on. Now, that's not to say that there's people who don't want to upgrade to a new neighborhood, maybe a neighborhood where the schools are a tad bit better, or you're closer to your church or your synagogue. And I get that. But refinancing is a very real possibility right now. We're seeing a lot of that going on. A lot of people paying off all that COVID debt that they accumulated by refinancing and taking equity out of their home. It's just again a very active time, and it's proving to be a very make sense move when you take the cash out of your house, pay these debts off. The amount that you have to repay is negligible in comparison. And again, Robert, what we want our listeners to understand is that this is their financial future we're discussing.
Yes.
Right? A home is more than just a place to live. And as you've said for all these years, people are literally sleeping in their investment. That's exactly what's going on. And because you're sleeping in your investment, you need to treat it like it's an investment. And you need to continually monitor that investment. You need to continually make sure that the utilization of your investment and of your money is being done to your best interest. So again, that's why we encourage everybody to give us a call and just let us do a tune-up, a mortgage tune-up, so to speak. But you got to start someplace, and the best place would be to give us a call. That number again is 972-739-2350, 972-739-2350.
All right. And once again, still talking here with our good friend Rob Stern of Lenders Residential Mortgage. And our phone lines here at 1040 KGGR are open as well at 972-988-1040. That's our number to call. Now, Rob, we're doing some research here. We've talked about millennials, but I don't think we've ever talked about Generation Z, or Gen Z, as they call themselves. And I went back and did some research. Now, this is another generation of young people. They're beginning to enter the workforce. They're living in thriving cities. They're living in apartments now. And Generation Z, Rob, they're beginning to say, well, I want me a home too. Right. So not only the millennials, but Gen Z is stepping up now.
Robert, it's really kind of interesting. Because it's a very cyclical process. A lot of these the baby boomers, which is my generation, our generation. The first thing we did when we got out of school and we had the financial ability was to try and figure out a way to buy a home and care for our family. Then as generations moved on, it progressed all the way to the millennials, who seem to be buying homes much later in life, in their 30s and 40s. And now things have kind of gone back the other direction, to where we've got these Generation Z, the most recent generation, and they're all wanting to get into homes early in life. It's like a yo-yo; it's going to go up and down. But I think what's really going on here is that people are realizing the power of investing in yourself, investing in your future. I want our listeners to look at buying a home like a retirement account, like a 401k, because that's literally what it is. It's not going to pay you great dividends today. Clearly, there's that emotional benefit of being a homeowner. There's the reality of the taxable opportunities and all the money you're going to save on your income taxes at the end of the year. But the reality is, in 20 years or 30 years, that home is going to literally serve you as if it was your retirement account. People are building up tremendous amounts of wealth. You buy a $200,000 home today. 30 years from now, that home's going to be worth $500,000. And you should have it paid off if you stick with the program.
Yes. So
I think, again, your words, Robert, of living in your investment ring so true. And I think that's what's happening. I think our young people are starting to get it. I think they're understanding exactly what they're up against with the cost of housing, and apartment rents are going up. Everything is getting more expensive.
Beautiful. All right, well, Rob, I'll tell you what, we got about 2 minutes left. And a word, if you would, about our veterans, anything about reverse mortgages, and once again, how can we reach you, Rob?
Sure, Robert. Veterans. I always love talking about veterans and who we are and what we do to help our veterans. As a direct mortgage lender, I will close a VA loan regardless of credit score. And I think that's very important. We have no overlays on our VA loans, and because of that, we can literally put a veteran into a mortgage loan when they've been turned down other places. And I hate to see anybody have to deal with the word no. But the reality is there are very specific guidelines in any case. As a direct lender, we alleviate a lot of those overlays and a lot of those guidelines that our veterans are suffering with in other areas. As far as reverse mortgages, there's still a pretty active reverse mortgage market out there. As we get older, there's a need for it. It's a very specific type of consumer. A reverse mortgage, quite literally, is a mortgage where the consumer stops paying any principal and interest payments whatsoever through their ownership of that home. So it's very beneficial to a certain cross section of the community. And again, we just want our listeners to give us a call so we can talk through it. All of these types of loans and more are certainly readily available. I've got 30 years in the industry as a direct lender. You and I, Robert, have been together now for over 22 years, and I just appreciate the opportunity to reach out to all of the KGGR listeners. I think there's a great opportunity out there for everybody to improve their position financially. My telephone number is 972-739-2350. That is 972-739-2350. You can also find me on the internet. Just go to Lenders Texas. That is LendersTexas.com. Follow me on Facebook at The Lenders Residential Mortgage Team. As always, I appreciate the opportunity and the chance to visit with you, Robert.
Right. Well, Rob, once again, we'll look forward to talking to you next Friday. And also want to give a shout out to some of our real estate associates out in the San Antonio area. I've been hearing from some folks, Rob, who've been reposting some of our shows there on YouTube. And I certainly want to thank Michael and everybody down there in San Antonio who have us plugged in. Well, once again, you've been listening to Let's Talk Real Estate here on 1040 KGGR with the one and only Rob Stern of Lenders Residential Mortgage. And once again, he'll be back with us next Friday right here on 1040 at KGGR. I'm Robert Ashley. We'll see you and have a blessed day. And Rob, we say certainly thank you again.
Thank you much, Robert. Take care, buddy.
Bless you, sir. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
A health threat anywhere is a health threat everywhere. I'm Dr. Phil. A new coronavirus outbreak called COVID-19 started in China and is spreading to many countries, including the U.S. It's critical to get the facts about how to protect our friends